All right, so we're hearing rumors that Triple H might be fired in 18 months, but again, these are rumors. We don't know if it's true. But however, CJAX is here to the rescue. We knew this rumor before he came out with the video, but let's hear what you got to say.
All right, y'all, we have an emergency news report update, okay? Now, I'm just going to jump right into this, all right? So, Jonathan Coachman, who obviously, if you guys don't know the coach, he worked in WWE before. He's been in the wrestling industry now for decades at this point. But that's not the point, okay? Here's the deal. He basically stated that there is heavy tension within TKO, specifically major tensions with The Rock and Triple H. And because of all these issues, Triple H may be forced out of WWE and lose his job as head of creative within the next 18 months or a year and a half, pretty much. This is absolutely insane. Now, part of me obviously is kind of excited because at the end of the day, Triple H is really bad at his job. We first need to discuss what this news potentially means. Number one, it means that TKO and The Rock are not happy with Triple H's performance because you have to remember TKO is a business. They're trying to record profits and trying to make a bunch of revenue. They will always be able to make revenue through sponsorships. You see the ring mat has 50 logos on it, but at the end of the day, they're always going to be able to make sponsorships money, make revenue from all the ads and all the commercials and all the people that they work with. You get what I mean? But at some point, you are going to need ticket sales, people viewing the show on Netflix, viewing it on cable. You get what I mean? Viewing the YouTube segments, all that stuff. Also having a situation where you have people showing up in droves to the big PLEs when they're charging a bunch of money for the tickets. You need those PLEs to be selling out in major venues. Like they're having SummerSlam in the stadium where the Giants are playing, at MetLife, right? Where they had Mania 29. They're going to have that there. They want those tickets to be dang near sold out, or at least, sold out actually on the dot. They want to make as much money as possible, but you can't make money from revenue and people showing up and buying all these tickets and buying the merchandise if, number one, you don't have any credible stars. Number two, the booking and creativity is garbage, so most of your roster isn't even being utilized correctly. Therefore, you have to do budget cuts and releases, which I'll talk about later. There is some news actually with, in terms of budget cuts and stuff like that, revolving around some top stars like guys like Roman Reigns, actually. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but that's not the point. The point is, you need someone who is the head of creative that can make great stories, build hype, build intrigue, and get people's butts in seats for these major shows where you can make the most amounts of money from your audience. And if you have a creator like Triple H who's not creative at all and is making horrible content on a weekly basis, that means that he needs to be fired immediately. I've been saying this for months, like, it's no offense, because, it's the game, triple fraud, I have bad booking, fiend. Like, dude, stop. You need to be able to book good shows consistently. You are a part of a massive business conglomerate. You need to be able to consistently have butts in seats, selling out arena after arena, and making the money. Last year during the Mania 40 build, when you were selling out shows every other week, or every week basically, because The Rock and Roman were there, you know what I'm saying? You had Cody and Rollins helping with that feud, etc. That stuff was interesting. You get what I'm saying? You had great television week to week pretty much. Therefore, you had sellout after sellout after sellout, and banger after a banger after a banger, and I can't stop thinking about Punk. You know what I'm saying? But listen, that's the point. You have to be able to sell out the shows and get the hype from the fans. And if you see Triple H is not doing that, TKO is acknowledging it, then that means he's going to be gone. The Rock, at the end of the day, has more power inside of this whole company with WWE and TKO as a whole than Triple H does. It's as simple as that. So if The Rock decides, like, in the next month or so, and he talks with his buddy Avi Emanuel and Ari Emanuel and all those people, you know what I'm saying, that work at TKO, the higher-ups, Triple H will be fired immediately. It's as simple as that. So the fact that The Rock is having major tensions with Triple H, and this is actually being heavily reported, this has been ongoing now for months. We've been seeing these reports, and now it's basically being confirmed by industry insiders. This is not a good sign, because this means that the reason The Rock didn't show up at Mania 41 is not because of Triple H, you know what I'm saying, not because, he couldn't make it. It's because he had creative issues with Triple H, and because of that, he was like, you know what, I don't want your business. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to do business with you, So The Rock probably didn't even show up at Mania 41 because of those reasons. And I hate to say it, but at this point, you just need something to get the fans talking in and to get them active about, being interested in watching this product at least week to week, or tuning in heavily to the PLEs and, saying all the big shows like Manias, your SummerSlams, your Royal Rumbles, etc. And the only people who have proven to be in that area where they can drive those ticket sales and get people to show up are your Rocks, are your Cenas, are your Roman Reigns. And those are the three, that is the trio, you know what I'm saying, of big draws inside of WWE today. It's just a fact, it's not an opinion. So, you know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. The Elimination Chamber tickets tickets were struggling to sell. Remember this story leading up to Chamber, and we found out about this after Mania 41. The tickets were struggling to sell, so The Rock had to show up, and just him being on the show gave them, I think, 6,000 to 7,000 extra people showing up, or 6,000 to 7,000 extra tickets were sold. That's because The Rock is an actual needle mover. He gets butts in seats. And so with Triple H potentially being fired, this is either going to go one of two ways, which I want to discuss. This either means that, number one, Triple H is likely going to get fired, which obviously means that The Rock or someone close to The Rock is going to be taking over the creative reins of WWE. This is either going to be really good or very bad, because on one hand, it can be really good because The Rock was obviously there in the prime of WWE in the Attitude Era as one of the biggest and best wrestling stars of all time, working alongside other all-time greats like your Stone Cold Steve Austins, etc. And because of that, that means that there's some element to this current roster that The Rock's, whoever, if he's making it, or if his, his buddies, creative partners, his writers are making it, Brian Gerwitz, I think his name is, if they're making the stories, they can make current stars feel like superstars and actually break the fourth wall and do certain type of segments that, that are more interesting and that get more out of your talent. And, instead of doing all this stuff where you're breaking kayfabe and, doing all this nonsense, the WWE Unreal show that's going to go behind the curtain, they would probably, I'm assuming The Rock would probably start to protect that.
Okay, I just want to stop the video real quick to let y'all know that Raquel got some new merch for the summer, dog. And it's black and gold. It's going down for real. Now, the price is not right, but hey, the shipping is free with the code on the bottom. So you already know, if you got an extra 40, go ahead and cop this merch, because this merch is on fire. And this girl is on fire. Raquel is off the scale with this merch, dog. And also the link is going to be on the bio, so you already know. Let's get back to the video. Raquelio!
He would probably start to protect kayfabe, which would be better for this current iteration of WWE. And because he knows, he was there when Vince McMahon was booking WWE and it was in its prime, he probably will be able to take some of those business models and some of those ideas to help make this company more successful financially and to also get fans excited again. Imagine if you start off a show and instead of seeing a couple of superstars like Cody Rhodes or Rhea Ripley walking in, drinking their cup of coffee, walking in, with the camera at the beginning of a Raw or SmackDown. Imagine if you started off with massive amounts of pyro, big, entrance themes. You get what I'm saying? Grandiose entrances. Your WWE champion and your world champion showing up pretty much every single week in wrestling or cutting good promos. Imagine if there was more hype enthused in this, more enthusiasm, more energy inside of these shows. And also, sometimes you go a little crazy. Maybe get a little PG-13 or rated R with some of your segments involving some of the wrestlers. That is how you actually get people at least talking about what's being shown. If you can get more audience members viewing the product consistently, because it's a global brand. The Rock is obviously a global, star phenomenon at this point. If he can get more people to watch the product and find new and interesting ways to show the roster in different lights that make people globally tune in because of the insanity of what's happening, or the craziness of a segment, or the craziness of what might happen on a PLE, the unpredictability of it, the chaos, I like that, man. At least in my opinion, I think that's great for wrestling. That's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be chaotic, entertaining, exciting, have emotions with it, crazy, grandiose pyro, all that stuff, elite wrestling inside of the ring. That is what we need. And if The Rock can at least get Triple H out of there and we can give someone else a shot, heck, I'll take a shot. You know what I'm saying? Get me in there. Let me book some stuff up there. I know I can make better than a 1 out of 10 episode of Raw. You give me a couple writers, let me get in there, bro. We're not getting 1 out of 10s for 8 straight months on Raw. I'll tell you that much. Anyways, that's just what it is. The Rock understands business better than Triple H, obviously, because The Rock is dang near a billionaire at this point. So I'm hoping that this does go through, and I do think Triple H sadly does need to be fired. He's still a legend as a wrestler. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Triple H is going to go, you think he was just in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, they just put him in. I think, he put himself in, actually. That's what happened. But Triple H is obviously going to go down as a legend, as a wrestler, and that's all that matters. He's contributed a lot to the industry, so there you have that. But everyone has that point where they need to move on. All right, it just needs to happen. It just is what it is. And now, speaking about the budget cuts, I'll speak about this and a couple other things, and then we'll wrap this up. You know what I'm saying? The budget cuts. There are rumors that because we're seeing releases like R-Truth, who try to negotiate a bigger contract, and they didn't let him do it, obviously, right? So, because of that, R-Truth either turned it down or they released him from his contract and are not going to pay him what he deserves, probably, with him being in the company for over 2 decades at this point. And because of the budget cuts with people like Braun Strowman, all the other releases they've had to do, it's very likely, apparently in the near future, probably as soon as within the next couple weeks or even within the next month, we are apparently going to see more releases, okay? So be prepared to see multiple other talent from WWE getting released. Apparently, Karrion Kross is rumored on that block. He obviously is a jobber, but, you don't want to see anyone lose their job. But at the same time, it's like, if you're not helping the business, you're not elevating anything, and they need you to be doing so, then it isn't going to work out long term. It just is what it is. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Other talent will be getting released soon.
Yeah, man, if you see the people that I circle, I think these are the people that's most likely going to be part of that list. But hopefully they stay at least until the storyline is over. But I don't know, man. I'm just looking at how the way the crowd is reacting to these two, and it's just depressing, man. But however, I do have a plan for Raquel, and you know me, man. I've been trying my best to get people to rock with Raquel, man. But because the crowds is not taking her serious because she's with Liv is one of the reasons why people won't give her a chance. You know what I mean? Because she's not getting booked. But if she get booked more, then people will see. But again, these wrestlers got to wrestle. Otherwise, I don't know how this is going to keep going. And I think the only person that's wrestling consistently is JD versus with Raquel. She's not being booked. So I don't know what would happen if we have a new creative room and a new creative leader, a CCO. But I don't know. I mean, would it be too late if once the belts is off of them? Would it be too late? I don't know. See, that's the problem. What could we do for her? Like I said, my plan is separate from Liv Morgan, right? Tell your story. Have you and Liv Morgan talk behind the scenes and see what you can do to get the crowd over. Like I said, this is why I would like it if Liv Morgan would be heel, because stay as heel, so that way Raquel could be babyface. But in order for that to happen, right, Liv will have to either turn her back on Raquel or what. But then again, I don't know how you could do that. If anything, people will like it if Raquel would turn her back on Liv, but then that makes her look like a heel. But then again, I won't consider her as a heel, because if it's kind of like you push each other, right? You push and push and push to the point where you don't have, when you had enough. And at that point, the crowd can't hate on you for that. You have every right to do that. You have every right to push back. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's what Raquel's doing. She had enough of Liv Morgan shenanigans, and that's why she pushed back. But will the crowd side with her? It just all depends on how it's set up. But that's why I read it for it to be set up to where Raquel is the victim and Liv Morgan is the aggressor based off of manipulation. You know what I'm saying? And that's where people have to, look at Liv Morgan's character one more time and say, you know what? Maybe we should take Raquel into consideration. And then they have a back and forth feud. You have Liv Morgan running away from Raquel, even though she shouldn't be playing cat and mouse. But then again, knowing that how small Liv Morgan is, she's most likely going to be the mouse. Why, Raquel become, the cat. So, yeah. Well, if they could just do something where Raquel can finally get her hands on Liv Morgan, that would be good. If not, I don't know how it'll work out, but whatever helps, And then hopefully, when the pay-per-view does come and Liv Morgan does have a title, and that's why I kind of want a fatal four-way match where Lyra, Liv, Roxanne, and Raquel go against each other, and, you have Liv Morgan win the belt, and then what happens is that Raquel challenges her for the belt. You get what I'm saying? They don't betray each other just yet. They betray each other after the fatal four-way match, and then Raquel go after the belt. I think that would be good, because it's competition on here, right? It's either my Raquel got to make a choice. It's either my job or our friendship. And if she chooses her job over friendship, it's nothing personal. It's just business. It's the same thing with you and Dom. You didn't help me win the Women's World Championship, so now, I can't deal with you no more. You know what I mean? Because you won't help me. So will it come to that? I don't know. I mean, once they lose the tag team titles, maybe we can get to that. But as for right now, it hasn't come to that. But that's why I don't want, it's bad enough they got rid of Carlito, right? So the one thing I just want is that I just want Raquel to stay just to finish up the storyline so that way she can get her first singles title, and that's the Intercontinental title. And as for JD, the way plan I have for him is that once the storyline is over, I would like for him to go on a solo run, but only way he can go on a solo run is if he him and Finn Balor have a friendly competition, right? Because I don't think JD is gonna say anything negative about Finn, but he can, but to build a plot, maybe he can, start with like, okay, one thing that I always know about you is that you're always the jealous type. It's just a little example. I'm not saying that he will actually say that, but he could say something like he could tell his story of how him and Finn got up, and then at the middle of the testimony, right, he'd be like, I've always looked up to you, and ever since I saw you, get to a level that I watched you gone through, I was just like, Finn, know what he doing? I'm gonna follow this man. He might take me somewhere. I've been following you too. I spent my whole life watching you. I have learned to tell where the shit lies. I could tell by the alfalfa. You taught me a lot of things ever since I've, came here, and ever since I've been, you've been my mentor. Taught me not to make the same mistakes. Taught me not to, make permanent decisions due to temporary failings. Like little examples like that. And then they have their back and forth, But is JD standing up for himself? So that way he could get the solo run as well. And even if he don't beat Finn Balor, the good thing is he got himself a push. You get what I'm saying? And if he does go to NXT, that would be cool, but at least he got a chance to give Finn Balor a singles push without him by his corner, So I think that would be good. But then again, will they do that? I don't know. As long as Triple H is around, I doubt they're going to do that. But hey, if they can get a new creator, that would be good. But just like, only thing that I just ask him to do is just please end the Live and Dom movement, please. All right, end the Judgment Day, please. So have everybody move on, because once you got rid of Carlito, we knew that it was no hope at that point. So, everybody got to go their separate ways. All right, that's just the bottom line. And if JD and Raquel get released, it's mainly because they probably saw the ring performances and they just like, you know what, you gotta go, which is sad because Raquel didn't deserve that. I mean, it's not her fault. If she would have got booked more, maybe she wrestled more, she could have been something. But because they haven't been wrestling, it's one of the reasons why you won't be able to see that, So, I don't know, but hopefully, they can continue until the story ends. But until then, I think they're on the list. But I could be wrong. But let's get back to the video.
And with Roman Reigns, because he is their highest paid person, I believe, their highest paid wrestler, and he's only wrestling 5 or 6 times a year max, apparently they're looking into cutting budgets on his contract and other people's top contracts, like maybe, I don't know, Punk, other people like that who make a lot of money but aren't wrestling or aren't showing up as much. You know what I'm saying? So it's very interesting. I highly doubt anything will happen to Roman Reigns or Punk or anyone like that, because at the end of the day, they're legends. You get what I'm saying? Like, let's be honest with ourselves. Roman Reigns is the only person who's actually going to show up semi-consistently when he is there, right? Besides Cena and Rock, I guess, that can actually draw you some tickets. Same with Punk, kind of to an extent. So Roman Reigns and Punk are not going anywhere. Don't worry about that. But their contracts may get restructured. If I was the head of TKO, I'm not letting Roman Reigns make whatever it is he's rumored to make, like $15-20 million a year, when in reality, he's wrestling 5 matches. That's not acceptable. I don't care how many tickets you draw it in. I ain't paying you 20 mil for 5 matches, bro. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just ridiculous. Unless The Rock is making, if The Rock is not making 20 million for like 4 or 5 matches, Roman Reigns should not be making that type of money for 5 matches. So they'll iron that out as well. But all in all, this is an interesting bit of information. I am very curious to see the trajectory of this company going forward. This next year and a half for WWE is absolutely make or break. We should be seeing better content and more desperation. Maybe some shock factor moves. Probably LA Knight or whoever wins the Money in the Bank will likely cash in on the night of Money in the Bank in a few days, because that's just what it is. They need to get people talking again. They need to start start selling out arenas. They need to sell tickets, and they need to drive viewership and revenue. And the only way to do that outside of the sponsorships and ads and all that stuff is to actually get butts and seats and to get people intrigued and excited to watch and consume your product. And I have a way better belief that The Rock will help us get something like that done than someone like Triple Fraud. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Have a phenomenal day. Peace out. And let me know your thoughts on the news in the comment section below. Have a great day. Peace out. And one love.
Well, Hunter, I apologize that you have to go through this, but you know what, bro? I mean, I still think you have an opportunity to switch your possession, but at some point you're gonna have to just tell yourself that I know when I've been beat, you know. But again, you know, Hunter, hey, if they let you go, you better not be seen no more, because ain't nobody want to see you as TKO, you know, as CCO. You feel me? Like, it's time to move on, bro. I mean, I really hope that they don't call your wife to be creative, because I just think that will cause jealousy and it will probably cause a divorce, and I really don't want that. So the best bet is just to maybe get Shane to do it, or I don't know, like maybe get Paul Heyman to do it. I don't know. I just think right now is just not a good time. And I think we have to make some changes in order for WWE to get back up again. And, you know, again, if you do get fired, I hope that they'll give you enough time to finish up the Judgment Day story, because we do need a conclusion for that story, because honestly, I am getting sick and tired of the Judgment Day storyline. All of us are getting sick of it. CJAX is sick of it, and everybody we know is sick of it. BCB is confused by it, because it was supposed to be about Finn and Liv, not about Liv and Dom. But because these the creative team is not doing a good job writing the story, is one of the reasons why we're going backwards. You know what I'm saying? And why Liv and Dom keep getting these promos and not Liv and Raquel, which is hurting her career. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully we can figure out who can take over. I don't care if it's The Rock. Just tell The Rock to please end the Liv and Dom story. But then again, also tell him, you know what? No, the person that should end it is Triple H, because he's been keeping this going for too long now, and we're sick of it. We need a conclusion, all right? We need Finn Balor to turn demon. We need Liv and Dom to split. We need Liv and Raquel to split, and we need we need Finn and JD to team up with Liv Morgan, so that way we can show y'all who is really in control, and that's these two, Finn and Liv, okay? And Dom getting with Roxanne, listen. Still need time to build, but I would love to see those two end up together. But if we could just get this out the way, man, that would be good, okay? Everybody deserves a solo run. And honestly, I don't know if JD and Raquel are going to get a solo run due to the releases, but let's just hope that they'll stay for the storyline. And then after that, we keep it moving, because, you know, I don't think Liv and Dom can move on that quickly without Raquel when they still have an opportunity to tell her story. You get what I'm saying? So I think Raquel might stay, but JD might leave. But then again, I don't want JD to be, you know, gone that quick. But if he gets released, I won't be surprised. You guys see the circles, it might happen. So, but hopefully Raquel will stay for the ride, and hopefully that, you know, while Raquel is still around, she'll have a solo run, and, you know, and then hopefully she'll go after the Intercontinental title, you know, and hopefully the Intercontinental champion will be Liv Morgan, you know, but we'll see. So get in the comment box and make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. What do you guys think, man? Do you guys think Triple H is going to get fired immediately, or do you think that he's going to do his 18 months and then after that he might, you know, reassign, you know? Y'all let me know down below, okay? Get in the comment box. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, share if you're new. And say a prayer to Raquel, man, and JD if they're on that list, okay? I'm out.